I got this from NCTM. Well, this makes a lot of sense. This makes a lot of sense. This is a little diagram that shows, well, where do we start? But that the algebra student at the end of Algebra 1 should be able to do all of this. But your job, K5, is to get them to understand all this foundation and long-term memory, to get them to understand this when they get in there. They can't do it, obviously. But in the 6th grade with pre-algebra, we start doing this sort of thing. And even in 5th grade, we start with line plots, don't we? Yeah, we start with line plots. Well, even in the lower grades, we're doing this. But that's to get them to graphing and understanding graphs and understanding bar models, you see, and understanding frequency charts. So let's say if somebody is having some serious problems with understanding a concept, go to the concrete, and then the representational, and then the abstraction. CRA, concrete to representational to the abstraction. And the representational is actually all of these. So now, so the concrete should connect to the algebraic formula or equation. It should also connect to the table that connects to the graph, that connects to the verbal description. But this is their graphic. But I would put a slash in the written, description as well, or the math writing in this. Because when you're doing the math writing, you're making connections, you're finding patterns, you're going down into your long-term memory and picking up mathematical facts. All of these, you're using language, you're picking it up, you're making new connections. Okay? That's why writing is so important. It's not to pass the park. It's to get them to be better thinkers, more efficient, more fluent thinkers, you see. Being able to communicate that thinking. Because if you do it, for me, if you do it only verbally, let's say if we're having a discussion, the listener is making up a lot of what you're saying. Like right now, if I was to ask you, what did I just say? And you would say, well, what did I just say? But what were we discussing here? What are we discussing here? You guys have all played that game where I whisper in her ear something, and then by the time it gets over there, it's junk, isn't it? Yeah, I say, what? It doesn't make any sense. That's why in verbal description, that's what happens. You're making it up. You're making it up. You're filling in the blanks. But in written communication, you have to use the word the word precisely. I remember I was in the library one time at Cuba High School, and these kids come in. These kids have to do a 30-page term paper. In high school, 30. I told I knew him well. The history teacher said, have them write one paper, one page paper. They don't have to write 30 pages, but it's a way of what? Taking up time. 30 pages. I take them to the library, let the librarian hold it. If you want to teach them how to write, that was my idea. Teach them how to write and research. One freaking paper is good enough. You don't have to do 30 because then they give you the encyclopedia. They just repeat the encyclopedia back to you. So I was trying to help this one kid, and I said, so he had he was just copying, paragraph after paragraph after paragraph. I said, no. Let's do this. Say, take this paragraph and this one and meld them together, merge them together. I said, the ideas, get the ideas and merge them together. So he says, okay, I know what to do. He comes back and he takes the first sentence of this one, the last sentence of this one, puts them together. It doesn't make any sense. So he was not learning how to write. He was learning what was that student learning? Well, he was learning how to get over. Oh, okay, you want 30 pages? Okay, I'll give you 30 pages. And I'll write real big. So I mean, we've all been there, haven't we? Yeah. So that's why that's why I put the written in here more so than just the verbal. the verbal stuff. Yeah.
Does the verbal then translate into that subconscious aspect of the
Yes, good question. And I'm glad now it reminded me, lower elementary grades, especially K1, and everybody actually, but in kindergarten say, well, they can't write. No. They can't write, but you are teaching them language and using a lot of language. So you have to use this language, the formal language, because that's probably our kids, the only place that they're getting it. Because I don't know, I can't see a lot of our kids at the kitchen table talking deep philosophical discussions about mathematics or understanding about mathematics. So what you're doing in language, think of this. You guys are all teachers in here. I'm making that assumption. Okay. Okay, so we're all teachers in here. Now, think of your kids' friends whose family is not a professional family, has no education. They come in with double negatives. They come in with short answers and incomplete sentences and maybe just cliches, don't they? Whereas your kid, you've taught them, she's in the next room, Tilly. I always kid her about this because that's the way I was brought up. And say, yesterday I sat by her at Hemis and I said, Tilly, can I sit by you? And she says, yes, you may. She's correcting me, isn't she? Yeah. Well, that's what we did with our kids, huh? So your kids know language. What you've done, what Casey's alluding to, is you build a superstructure of language in that kid. Your kids coming in don't have that. So the kindergarten teacher is critical that you are talking to them in this fashion. First grade teacher, second grade, all of it. It's the math and the writing, all of it. And that's why you see your kids differently from them, because your kids at the breakfast table and at night when you're tucking them in, okay, you're talking to them all in between, and you're making that. You're building that superstructure and that infrastructure of language. That's what you're doing. That's why I say it's about thinking. And if they don't have that, they can't use it. They've only got the hammer to build a house with. And so instead of finding a screwdriver, they try to nail that screw into that piece of wood. They can't. They will eventually, but it's very hard to do. You destroy the wood in an attempt to do that sort of thing. So yeah, kindergarten teacher.
Not only that, but in the verbal discourse of
yes.
the Kagan structures and that cooperative learning
yes.
environment, that is
exactly
a huge part as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because so right there, they're not even getting into
That's what you're doing as teachers. You're brain engineers in a sense. You're brain engineers. You are engineering that brain. Every time you talk to that student, every time you correct him, every time you give him a new piece of information, you are modifying that brain. That's what you're doing.